So what are the 6 main areas that we look at when we are assessing a candidate? First of all, we look at grades. And why are grades so important? Grades are probably the best predictor of success in optometry school. Not only shows how much you know about different subjects, it also tells us much more than that. It tells us about behavioral characteristics. Can you actually endure a very challenging schedule through a long period of time? A grade will actually measure your performance throughout 4 years of engagement. That is actually a good predictor of how well you're going to do in the future. A grade also shows you if you have patterns of withdrawals and failures, and that tells us much more than just how well you know a certain subject, but also tells us how focused you are. Usually we have that student that did not do very well in undergraduate and comes from, let's say, with a GPA of 1.96 and tells me, don't worry about it, don't worry, just accept me. And if you do accept me, I'll show you that I am much more than just my grades, and I'll do much, much better. Can I trust in that? Maybe, but actually, when I look at past behavior, the student has really shown that it's very unlikely, the odds are very small that this student will perform better. And usually the way I describe it is that these students have a disconnect between their present selves and their future selves. They say, hey, my present self hasn't done much. My present self hasn't produced much. My present self hasn't been really focused and studious, but don't worry about it because my future self will take care of everything. And is it really? Probably not, because your future self is yourself tomorrow. You're not going to have that huge transformation all of a sudden and become a different person. So that's the present self and future self disconnect. So the way you have to do it is you have to show that today you can do well, especially for freshman and sophomore. My recommendation to you is that you manage your GPA with loving care, because it's really going to make a huge difference when the time comes for you to apply to a professional program. Of course, that sometimes we may have not done that well. We may have received a C- or a C or 2 C's along your academic career. And that is not a problem as long as you show that you can do better in those particular knowledge areas. So for example, if you got 2 C's in biology, you might want to take an upper division course in biology and show that you can do better. If you have received a C-, for example, at SUNY, we don't accept courses with a C-, so you will have to retake that course and also look for possible substitutions. So let's say that you didn't do that well in organic chemistry and you got a C-, you can actually take a biochem course to substitute for that C- that you have. But again, you have to show that you can do well, that when you apply yourself, you can do well. The standardized tests, actually, it's a standard way for us to measure performance. And the quality of undergraduate education varies from college to college, from student to student. And the standardized test gives us a very objective view of how well you know each particular subject. And they also correlate really well with GPA on your first 2 years in optometry school, and also in how well you do in board exams, actually. So that's why it's so important for you to do well in standardized tests. Then we look at experience and knowledge about the field and the profession. This, for me, is crucial. Most of the time when I open your file, I look at your grades and I look at your standardized tests, your OAT score. And immediately I will have a mental image of where do you stand on my mental bell curve. After that, I go straight into your experience in the field, your shadowing experiences. And I want to know how much does this person know about the field of optometry. And what I'm looking at depth and breadth of knowledge. And I want to know how much do you know about the specialties and modes of practice. And we'll talk more about that later and how to describe your experiences. So other things that we look at is your civic engagement. How engaged have you been in different clubs, associations? Are you actually making a difference in the communities that you're a member of? We also look at leadership qualities and skills. Why is leadership qualities and skills so important? First of all, as I mentioned before, we want to make sure that when you come to our campus, you're not just taking a backseat in life. You're not just attending classes, going home and studying and doing well. We want to create a vibrant sense of community. And for us to create a vibrant sense of community, we need student leaders, students who are engaged, who are making things happen. And look at optometry as a profession. Optometry as a profession, we need leaders who will actually fight for the rights of optometrists. This is a legislative profession. That means that the profession needs professionals who go out there and lobby for the rights of optometrists. And who do you think are going to be the ones who are actually lobbying for the rights of optometrists? Are those who probably have shown that in the past they have had leadership skills and qualities. That is why it's so important to have those skills and qualities and to develop them as you progress in your undergraduate studies. And finally, there is institutional fit. And pretty much what we look at institutional fit is to see if you have the skills and qualities that we look for in applicants. And I know it can be quite subjective, but in the end, we want to make sure that you fit into our culture. At SUNY, we have a very rigorous program. We expect leadership from our students. We expect students to be really engaged in organized optometry. So we want to make sure that when we are analyzing your file through the admissions process, that you show us evidence that you are going to fit well within our culture.